I see so many single girls in the church. Like I know a good amount of like 25-year-old virgins, which I would say is like pretty old. Would you say that's pretty old for a virgin? 25
How do you know they're
female?
virgins, Pearl? Did they
I
tell
guess
you?
you're right. I don't know for sure. Who do you think gets wifed up first? Do you think prudes get wifed up like easily before like the hoes?
You know, it's weird. One thing that hoes are, and this is why hoes get wifed up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Hoes get wifed up a lot because hoes have perfected the skill of making a man feel good sexually, right? If a man does not, even a man who has the requisite experience with women to understand the difference between a hoe and a prude, and you don't have to have any experience. You know which women sleep around, you know which women generally don't. But what hoes have advantages over good girls. The main advantage is that they have years and years of practice perfecting their technique. They know how to look, they know what to say, they know what not to say. Prudes tend to just be honest people, and they're honest because they can be. All right, well, how many guys told I'm a virgin? I mean, if indeed she is. And so and so by virtue of their lifestyle, hoes have a lot more practice mimicking the behavior of a quality girl because they've done what doesn't work, right? The typical 28, 29-year-old hoe who sleeps around, she is going to look like a much better prospect, at least in the short term, than the 21-year-old who still lives with her parents and went to Catholic or Christian school and happens to still be a virgin because she doesn't know anything. But then you meet that 29-year-old and she knows how to look, she knows how to act, she knows how to feign submissiveness. But who gets wifed up first? Prudes definitely get wifed up first. That doesn't mean that hoes don't get wifed up more than prudes, because there are more hoes than prudes. But in terms of the pecking order, men will have fun with hoes. Like I've had fun with many hoes, but at the end of the day, if a man understands his worth, he's not going to commit to a hoe. He'll have fun with her, maybe make her the side chick. No, man of value, he wants the 20-year-old who still lives with her parents, who doesn't have a high body count.
So it's interesting because that is not what I have seen. And I'm not saying this is no like facts, no data. This is just like,
where's your stats?
Yeah, I got nothing. But I see so many single girls in the church. Like I know a good amount of like 25-year-old virgins, which I would say is like pretty old. Would you say that's pretty old for a virgin? 25?
How do you know they're virgins, Pearl? Did they
I
tell
guess
you?
You're right. I don't know for sure. So I could say one idea is, they're lying and telling me that, but the church that I like, because I'm thinking of when I lived in Milwaukee, and the church in Milwaukee was very like tight knit and very like, how do I put it, in each other's business. So like, like you would like hear things through the grapevine, and so I would know. I think I would know if they were lying to me, because like stuff just like gets around there. You ever live in like a small town?
Yeah, Altus,
it's like
Oklahoma.
The same. Yeah, it's like the
Altus,
same kind of
Oklahoma.
like
And listen, there were girls there too, but they were definitely hoes, even back in 1992. So, but assuming that let's just assume for the sake of argument that these 25-year-old women are verifiable virgins, hymen intact and all that good stuff.
Yeah. And I've just seen like a lot of virgins have like a really hard time in dating. And I think part of it is the lack of like men in the church, and maybe unrealistic standards for those women and like what to look for in a husband. But I also don't see like men of value pursuing them, because they would have to wait to have sex and they just don't have the time.
Okay. Yeah. So let's start with the first thing. And I agree with you. There's actually a third factor I'll ask you about in just a second. But number one, yes, their standards are too high. This doesn't mean that I'm telling women to lower their standards. A woman can have whatever standards she wants. But what women have to realize is that women don't realize that there are not many high value men. And okay, so how many 25-year-old virgins are there? Well, however many 25-year-old virgins there are, I can promise you, there are even less high value men.
Mhm.
90% of women, Pearl, are competing for 10% of the men.
Mhm.
Every woman, even 25-year-old virgins or women who say they're virgins or women who don't have
Mhm.
high body counts, they have these ridiculous expectations. Well, I don't want to say ridiculous expectations. They have extremely high expectations. And at 25, if you're a virgin at 25 and you still haven't been wifed up, then either A, you're lying about being a virgin, or B, this is what I was going to ask you, what do these girls look like physically? Are they in decent shape? Are they overweight? Because if you're a 20, if you're a woman who is not overweight, a woman who's in
Mhm.
good shape, and a 25-year-old virgin, either you're not a virgin or there's something physically wrong with you. So what's the story there?
Um, okay, I will say I would say about half of them are like average size. There's a couple that are like pretty big, but I wasn't really thinking of them because in my head, like, there's clearly a reason, like,
Sure.
obviously. So
They're
when I'm,
virgins because they're overweight,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. The ones that I'm thinking of, I would say are like 5 to 7s. I wouldn't say any. One girl might be an 8, maybe. I would say 7 or 8. But none of them are like crazy hot to like the 8 to 10 category.
Well, here's
But
the
I would
thing.
say like pretty to cute. Does that make
Well,
sense?
pretty to cute is fine.
Okay.
But to a man of value looking to, I guess, looking to commit long term to a woman, he's got to be sexually attracted to her. That's just all
Mhm.
there is to it. But
Mhm.
we're not looking for the 8s, 9s, and 10s of the world. I've had enough experiences with 8s, 9s, and 10s to understand they belong to the streets. They belong to the game. I said this, I'm on episode 810. Way back in episode 37, way back in 2000 and what, 16, 17, I said the downsides to 8s, 9s, and 10s is that they belong to the game. They do not make good wives. They don't make good girlfriends. They don't make good moms. So
Mhm.
we cast those out. So the range that I tell guys to look for, just like you said, is the 5
Mhm.
to 7 range in terms of
Mhm.
looks. However, if she is not overweight, and when I say not overweight, I'm talking about a girl who is in good shape, not decent shape, because a lot of girls say, well, she kind of has a decent weight or she's an average size. The average woman in this country weighs 165 pounds. That's fat. That's
At what height? I'm just thinking like I'm
five.
thinking of these girls, so I'm
Sure,
thinking of
five
like
five. If they're 5'5" to 5'6", 165 pounds, that's
um
fat.
I would say they're like 150 or lower, I would say.
Let me ask it to you this way.
Guessing.
Maybe
Yeah.
this is a better answer. Would a guy like me say that those girls are overweight?
Um I'd say one for like I would say one of them you would.
Okay.
But I would say the rest no.
Okay. So what's the problem with them then? If they're 25, they're not overweight, but they are still virgins. It must be the expectations. And I'll tell you this, a
Mhm.
lot of girls, rightfully wait until they're trying to wait until marriage to be in a relationship. So they start dating a guy. The guy wants to have sex with him. And guess what? If I'm a high
Mhm.
value guy and I'm dating a girl who is supposedly a virgin, guess what? I'm going to try to take her virginity. You want to know why? Because
Mhm.
I want to know if she's really a hoe. If a girl says I'm a virgin and I sleep with her on the first date, clearly
Mhm.
not a virgin. But the best way for a man to shit test a woman is to try to sleep with her on the first date. Because if you sleep with her on the first date, you know she has slept with other men on the first date, which means she is not worthy of commitment. So now we get that out of the way. So now virginal girls, I guess at your former church, will say, well, I date guys, but then they dump me because I'm not having sex with them. If a
Mhm.
guy is dumping you because he's not having sex with you, that is a man who's not looking for anything serious. If a
Mhm.
man is looking for something serious with a woman, long-term partnership or long-term relationship or marriage with children, and he knows you're a virgin, you're telling him, no, I'm not going to have sex with you until we are married or in a relationship,
Mhm.
and he bounces, he didn't want to be in a relationship anyway, and that's not
Mhm.
the kind of guy you want to be with. So then it
Mhm.
goes back, then it really just goes back to the girl. So a lot of these girls are saying, well, he dumped me because I'm not having sex with him. Now there's this other quandary. Well, what if I stay with him but then he starts sleeping with other girls? Well, guess what? Now you have a choice to make. You can either A, understand that it's just sex for him and that he's just going
Mhm.
to get his rocks off and you can wait around, or B, lower your standards.